Since the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak, countries around the world have implemented lockdown measures. From quarantines, stay-at-home orders, school and business shutdowns, to travel bans and border closures. More than a third of the world's population was placed under some form of restriction to slow the spread of COVID-19 and
flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve.
But what kind of restrictions put in place varied by country. Two in particular followed very different approaches: Sweden and New Zealand. Sweden took a much softer approach, keeping elementary schools, restaurants, and most businesses open, but still urging citizens over the age of 70 to stay home, while also banning gatherings of more than 50 people.
Sweden has a lot going for it that's protective. That is to say, it's a culture that they trust their government. They're fairly compliant. They're a healthy population. They do not have overcrowding. You don't have multi-generations living together. They tend to be quiet and reserved. They don't tend to hang out in large bunches in the same way that other cultures might. So they had all these things going for them, and I think they were lulled into a certain sense of security that says, we're okay. We don't need to do those things, we're okay.
On the other extreme, New Zealand shut its borders and announced a state of national emergency even before it recorded a coronavirus death. The country imposed strict lockdown measures, forcing the public to stay in their homes around the clock, unless shopping for essentials like food or medicine.
New Zealand sort of used the standard playbook of careful lockdown, of responding quickly, responding aggressively, and geographically it was relatively easy for them to close their borders. So they were able to really stop travel and to really lock everyone down, and that's the orthodox approach. If people aren't interacting, the virus can't spread, and they got away with it, and they did a great job.
And the numbers speak for themselves. As of May 4th, this is what the number of cases in both countries looked like. Sweden with over 22,000 cases and almost 3,000 deaths, while New Zealand has under 1,500 cases and 20 deaths. As of May 4th, there have been no new coronavirus cases in New Zealand for the first time since March 16th, going beyond flattening the curve.
We have the opportunity to do something no other country has achieved: elimination of the virus.
But they are still moving forward cautiously. Meantime, this is where Sweden sits compared to other countries.
Whereas it hasn't turned into a sort of a catastrophic Italy-type situation, their healthcare system hasn't been overwhelmed. The fact of the matter is that I think they didn't play it right.
And compared to other Scandinavian countries, Sweden has had proportionately more cases and more deaths.
Every country, when implementing layers of protection, have to balance the need to meet the risk posed by COVID-19 today versus the longer-term risk of causing downstream consequences that could end up having even greater harms than the virus itself. So every country chose slightly different balance.
Finding that balance is challenging when there's no successful model in place. And at the same time, governments are looking to avoid situations like this.
We've seen really shocking backlash from people against the government actions, which really does highlight that we can't assume that all people are going to be supportive of these actions, even if they are in the best interest of public health. Because people have to go to work and put food on the table. And indeed in the UK, when they tried something more akin to the Scandinavian model, citizens freaked out, forced the UK government to pursue a similar strategy as to what Canada has been doing.
Only time will tell which country's approach worked best, so that next time a pandemic hits, others can follow their lead. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay up to date on the latest breaking national and international news, be sure to subscribe to our channel, where we also dig into big issues around the world in our weekly series, Global News Explains.